Hey, hello there. This is William Nico, Natural Fitness, bringing you natural fitness lifestyle. Today we're talking about what is natural muscle. What's a natural muscle? Do you know what natural muscle is? Well, let's see. Let's start. Let's start. You have muscles here. You have biceps, triceps. Okay, and you make these. You make these how? With exercise and nutrition. Okay, I lost a viewer. Come back. Hey, you're welcome to come back. So this is the thing. You're making this muscle with exercise and nutrition. So you can call it natural. But if you start injecting something or you start taking in chemicals, especially prescription chemicals, without a prescription, then you're no longer natural. If you start injecting oil or any other chemicals in your muscle to enhance it, you're not natural. Very simple. So how can you tell if somebody's injecting chemicals or yes, well, one of the ways is by blood testing, right? A lot of these natural, so-called natural organizations, say they test, they do, some even go as far as saying they do water testing. They don't even know what the heck what water testing is. Water testing, water testing, okay? It's another name for it. It's supposed to test your blood, do random blood testing. But that is done if you're involved in a sport that's actually making dinero, making money, right? Making money. So why would the organization spend a lot of money when they're not making any money? We're not paying the athletes any money. Makes no sense. So to say a natural bodybuilding organization is doing legit testing. If they're not making any money, they're not paying the athletes any money. Why would they, go as far as spending a lot of money doing blood testing and utilizing sophisticated laboratories? And yes, blood testing, even urine testing, costs money. You know, if you don't think so, just go to a Quest lab and try to pay for a complete blood panel, a complete hormone panel, okay, for blood work, and you see how much it's going to cost you. Now try to multiply that by, let's say, 100 bodybuilders. You're going to see the cost. And would that be realistic unless you're charging the bodybuilders a lot of money, which is the route which most of these so-called promoters in these natural bodybuilding competitions are doing. They go on the route of charging the athletes and the contestants a lot of money. But they don't give the bodybuilders anything in return. So that's why a lot of natural bodybuilders are just saying, the heck with it. Like, go do do a non-natural show, non-drug tested show. Go to the IFBB, right? Because some of these organizations, or a lot of them, are involved with sponsors, involved with magazines, and they may have the appeal of being a much broader competition, of having a potential to pay the athletes more, having the potential to involve you, okay, a bodybuilder, in a magazine shoot, or photo shoot. Let me tell you something. I've been in photo shoots. Yeah, as an amateur bodybuilding back in 2007, I was involved in a photo shoot. I lost another viewer. Okay, so what is natural muscle? You eat and you exercise. You don't put pro hormones, pro steroids. You don't put SARMs. SARMs isn't natural. Why would you want to take SARMs and then compete in a natural bodybuilding show and call yourself natural? But is that scenario possible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because a lot of SARMs are still sold without prescription, are sold commercially. And yes, a lot of natural bodybuilders take SARMs. Oh, yes. And they're not, and you mean to tell me that the natural organizations has enough sophisticated testing to catch SARMs, all the SARMs, because SARMs is just a general word. And yet SARMs are used by not a natural bodybuilders. Believe me, I used to work for the top sports nutrition store in New York City, Nutri Sport, back in 2004. They sold all, everything over the counter, all the pro hormones back then. And yes, a lot of natural bodybuilding competitors entered the store and they bought it. So now, you got some guys, they go on YouTube and they claim they were Mr. America. It's good. I don't take anything away, because I won Mr. America too, right? But I don't go out saying that natural bodybuilding organizations are doing the best and the tops in helping natural bodybuilders, in helping promote the sport of natural bodybuilding, have a broad appeal to the public. I don't go and saying that. I don't say that, brag that I've done a lot in the sport as a pro. If I haven't competed haven't won anything as a pro, I did after I won my pro card back in 2011. I had my first professional bodybuilding competition, which was called the WNBF Pro Masters Cup, and I won first place. Okay. So, I know about natural bodybuilding organizations, specifically the WNBF, because that's where I participated. Okay. And I know about the testing there. And it's not a very sophisticated test, and it's not a very expensive test. And they don't pay the athletes a lot of money. Why don't they? Because they don't have a broad appeal to the public. But what is natural muscle? When you're preparing, or you just want to look good and have natural muscle, how do you do it? Is it by following some guy who says he eats an X amount of protein, like 300 grams, and that's going to make you anabolic? No. If you eat too much protein, you're going to crap it out in the toilet. You have to eat the protein according to how your body needs. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound, whether it's pound of fat or muscle. See, that's the thing that people don't understand. When they think of 3,500 calories, they're thinking, let me see, anybody has questions? Nobody in the chat box. You know what? If you reach to the chat box, you're going to gain some muscle because you're performing a movement and you're using your muscles. So reach to the chat box and ask me some questions. You're going to gain some muscle. So we're talking about 3,500 calories equates to 1 pound, whether it's 1 pound of muscle or fat. So if you want to gain 1 pound of muscle, you have to eat 3,500 calories of, no, let me rewind that. Your body has to metabolize 3,500 calories and convert it into 3,500 calories of protein. Your body has to, in order to gain 1 pound of muscle, your body has to metabolize the protein you ingest and convert it into 3,500 into 1 pound of muscle. Now you may think, well, that's easy to do, but do you think you can metabolize 3,500 calories of protein in 1 day, in 1 week, in 1 month? No. Think about it. 3,500 calories from protein. A gram of protein is 400 calories. Okay. So if you have 300 grams of protein, that's only 1,200 calories. That's 300 grams. Double that, you almost triple that. 900 grams of protein, and it would be close to 3,500 calories. How long would it take you to metabolize 900 grams of protein? You think you're metabolizing 900 grams of protein, but you're crapping it out. Does your stomach have the capacity to digest 900 grams of protein? Does it have the capacity to digest 50 grams of protein? These are individual factors. And these can be improved upon with things like good foods that have good digestive enzymes, with activity, the right type of exercise. So what type of exercise would increase your metabolism to gain more muscle? You see all these people saying high intensity. But what is intensity? What do you mean by intensity? Lifting the most weight, does that mean high intensity? Or is that just burning out your nervous system and stressing your joints? Intensity is muscle contraction. And that's determined by your own effort, or by your own willingness to, and your own energy level to exert yourself during exercise. You can't have high intensity muscle contraction without exerting yourself. You could take a huge weight and cheat out. Look, I'm going to take a weight and cheat. That doesn't mean I'm exerting myself. That doesn't mean I'm exerting a muscle, the target muscle. I'm exerting myself on high intensity, but I'm not applying high intensity to the target muscle. So that's true high intensity. Effort directed to your target muscle. And that is an individual matter, but can be worked on gradually, progressively. That's why it's called progressive resistance. You just don't jump into the most difficult exercise, to the most difficult level of exercise. You just don't do it. So how do you gain muscle tissue? Well, let's start there. Progressive resistance, a format that involves a progression of the amount of resistance, the amount of repetitions, and the amount of sets, how often that is applied to your body. It starts with less often. It starts with less amounts of reps, less amounts of sets, less amounts of repetitions, and progressively increases. According to one thing, and listen to this, adaptation. That is how you increase muscle tissue, adaptation. And it is your individualistic adaptation that matters. I can't go on here, even though I won Mr. America before, just because I claim I won a pro card, like many moons ago, like when the dodo bird became extinct, maybe, just a joke. But just because I'm so and so, I can't say that I know how your body is going to respond. I know how your body is supposed to be trained and how you're supposed to eat. No, it doesn't go that way, because first there's something called assessment. But the thing is, there has to be questions here in order to address and to present the appropriate topics, to present the appropriate information, I need questions. But I will go on to explain that natural bodybuilding, natural muscle, is a progression. It's a progression of adaptation. A progression. So if you have a pencil or pen, please write this down. Natural, okay, write this down. Natural muscle is about progressive adaptation. That's it. Write that down, and then you will remember that whatever you do, whether it comes to eating or it comes to training, you do it in a progressive manner. You do not go run to the store and grab a big piece of meat and gorge yourself. So that's it. Let me tell you, when I was 16 years old, I seen Pumping Iron. I was inspired. I was motivated. I went to a bodybuilding gym, and I tried to mimic the same movements that I seen in the movie, the same movement that I seen the actors and the bodybuilders and Pumping Iron doing. I tried to mimic those same movements without understanding the human body, the anatomy, the physiology, and not understanding the human body, not understanding my particular body. Yet I tried to copy the same style of training like a Ken Waller, especially when Ken Waller was doing the lat pull downs. And you've seen a lot of bodybuilders in Pumping Iron utilizing the cheat principles, a lot of momentum. And that was wrong for a beginner. See, if you're an experienced athlete and experienced at performing a movement or a skill, you can experiment with that skill. As some say, you can add a little English. It's just like a handball player or a tennis player, adding a little English to his stroke, but only after they practice their stroke for years. Then they can have a little bit of leeway, okay, and a little freedom of choice and individualizing that movement, but only till you acquired a high skill of that movement. This goes and applies to weightlifting. Only after you gain a lot of skill in the movement. But not a lot of people think that bodybuilding exercise do not require skill. But they do. They do, because the positioning, there are factors and that measure what your body does during a movement. There are factors such as joint positioning, even in an exercise that can appear so simple, like a barbell or like a dumbbell curl. There are factors like joint positioning. There are factors of angles, and these are important because they determine the force, where the force is being placed on the muscle, because where the force is being placed on the muscle determines if the exercise is safe or not. There are things as origins and insertions of muscle. That simply means where the muscle is initially is attached, starts at, and where it attaches to, which joint it attaches to. So the origin is where the joint where the muscle starts at, and then the insertion is where the joint where the muscle attaches to, and the joint which that muscle pulls. That's the insertion. So when you are performing a barbell curl, you want to make sure that the joint where the muscle originates at, in this case would be near the shoulder joint, that the joint where the muscle originates at is in a stable, locked position. That is for the safety of the muscle insertion, which is where the muscle of the joint is attached to. So if you're doing barbell curls, the point of origin here, where the muscle originates, is the shoulder joint. Not only the biceps originate at the shoulder joint, so do these shoulder muscles. And you have to keep that shoulder in position. This takes skill. This takes paying a lot of attention to, but this takes a lot of knowledge, because you have to understand what the proper position of the shoulder joint is. But if you're just looking at the shoulder joint here, back here, over here, that's not really the proper position of the shoulder joint. And that is very important. And when you commence your barbell curl, how far the resistance is from the point of where the muscle attaches is very important, because the further away, the more potential you have to tear that bicep muscle. So this makes an exercise like the bicep curl, which may appear very simple, requires skill. So the biceps curl requires skill. The more skill you have, and the better your biceps is going to get. And you have to practice that in order, if you want to get the skill. You can't just follow some guy and say, hey, he did it, let me do it like him. No, you have to practice. You have to practice the bicep curl. And that will give you more skill, and in time it will show in the development of your biceps. You will be able to have more feedback. You'll have more body awareness. Yesterday I was doing curls. And I felt a little bit of pull in the insertion of my biceps long head, but only because I did this between sets. And who does this? And feel their muscle, feel their bicep between sets while they're resting. Well, I tell you one thing, if you were doing high intensity, you wouldn't take the time out to feel your muscle, and you wouldn't be aware of how it's feeling, if the muscle is pulled or not. So what you do between sets is very important if you want to gain natural muscle. You should be doing things like massaging your muscle, moving it around. Yes, because this will let you know if your muscle is being overworked by the exercise. If it is, you can do it like I did. Yesterday I felt a small ache in the insertion of my biceps long head, and I simply stopped the workout. Yes. Now, that's very important to pay attention to your body if you want to gain natural muscle. And then today I could go out and have extra protein and extra vegetables, fruits, have extra nutrient intake, because my bicep is slightly injured and it will require extra nutrient intake. This is how you build natural muscle. You have to pay attention to your body. You can't just blindly follow a routine. You have to pay attention to your body. So this is natural. This is how to gain natural muscle. And so now let's take, how do you increase the size of your bicep? So the bicep inserts into the forearm bone. The further the biceps further down the biceps insert into the forearm bone, the more potential it has to flex that forearm, the more potential it has to curl a heavier weight. Everyone is different. Some people's biceps insert high up on the forearm. Some people's bicep insert lower into the forearm, giving them greater potential to have curling strength, develop bigger biceps. Okay, it's called the circumference. The longer the muscle is, the more circumference it could have. In this case, the biceps. Now, if you don't have a bicep that inserts down here, doesn't insert lower into the forearm, you don't have a lot of potential to gain big biceps. What you could do is increase all the other muscles near the bicep, like the brachialis, that more complete development to work on your complete development of the biceps. With the short head of the biceps, the long head, the brachialis. That's how I was able to attain a bigger looking biceps. So, many people say, oh, well, here, how big are these biceps? Do you believe that they're only like 14 3/4 inches? They look bigger because I fully developed not only the biceps, but the brachialis and all the sections of the biceps, which are the biceps long head and the biceps short head. I take my time, I deliberately perform the exercise, and I exert myself to how I'm feeling that day and to how I can master the movement and control the movement. I just don't blindly apply what they call high intensity, because high intensity is high concentration. And if you're just throwing up a weight, if you're just cheating on your barbell curl, you're not concentrating. So you're not applying high intensity. Please ask me any questions, because I love questions. Otherwise, I may have to tell one of my dumb jokes, and you may not want to hear one of my silly jokes, one of my bad jokes. Hey, the other day I felt some like rain on my head. Yeah, it was such a rainy day. But then I looked up and I noticed my neighbor's window was open, and I realized their bathroom was out of order. So you deduce, you induce the rest. Okay, what that means. Okay, but that's like one of my silly jokes. But paying attention, concentration, high concentration, is how do you get muscle. Paying attention to what your needs, how fatigued you are, how hungry you are, what you did the previous day, your activity level, and assessing how you should exercise and how you should eat is how you gain natural muscle, because every day you can write down 3,500 calories. 3,500 calories. But some days you may need more. Some days you may need less. This is how you gain natural muscle, because if you're eating too little, you're not going to gain natural muscle. If you're eating too much, you can actually slow your metabolism down. Or you can absorb less because your body's not capable of handling too much. So anyway, if you want to gain muscle and you try to just eat too much, it's going to slow the absorption down. It's going to actually interfere with the absorption. So now the protein that you ate is not going to be utilized, and you're not going to recover from your workouts. That's very, very important to start with the lower amount when it comes to nutrition and see if your body is using it or not. This is called experimentation. When I was competing, in natural bodybuilding, I wouldn't just go out and eat the biggest portion of, chicken or turkey or eggs or cheese. I would start with the lower portion of protein and then see how my body responded each week. If I felt tired, if I felt weaker, then that would mean, and I was losing weight, that would mean I would slightly increase it, and then I would see again how my body responded to the slight increase in protein. This is done by a natural bodybuilder because I was, as a natural bodybuilder, reliant on what my body can do on its own without any help of chemicals. Now, there are things like digestive enzymes, many good natural supplements, but this is where you have to educate yourself and do your own research, because when you go out to and buy a supplement in a store, there is rarely somebody who's knowledgeable about nutrition and who's actually taken the time to read about the very supplements that they are selling. So you have to educate and inform yourself. If you want to know whether you should take a vitamin A supplement, you have to know which is the best source of vitamin A. Many people, like myself, do not absorb beta carotene well. So am I going to just listen to some store clerk and say, here, buy this great vitamin A and then I know it's made from beta carotene? It would be a waste of money. You have to educate yourself on nutrition. You want to, on supplements. If you want to buy supplements, you have to educate yourself and inform yourself. I worked for many years in a nutrition store, but the store had books, reference books for vitamins, minerals, herbs, so the customer could educate it and inform themselves on the proper intake of herbs, vitamins, and the proper sources, because sources of vitamins, source of proteins are very important. So please ask me a question. If you go out and buy a protein supplement, in the first place, do you buy a protein supplement? Do you go out, do you utilize protein supplements? Are they whey protein? Are they egg protein? Are they meat protein? Or are they vegetarian protein supplements? What are the sources? How is it manufactured? It's very important. Take for example, whey protein. How many times do you see on a protein supplement label that one of the ingredients is undenatured protein? Are you familiar with that word? Undenatured. Because many protein supplements do not list undenatured protein as one of their ingredients on the label. So that's one of the things. Any questions out here? Undenatured protein, denatured protein, microfiltered whey versus whey concentrate. Big difference. It's how the process. One process uses heat, another uses cold process, which doesn't destroy the protein. The heat does destroy the protein. Ion exchange whey. You've heard of iso whey. So you've heard of Isopure. It's made by a process called ion infusion. So ionized process that destroys it. They add acid that destroys the important protein fractions in the milk. A process that utilizes a cold press process, a cold filtered process, does not destroy the important protein fractions in milk, which are necessary for your body to utilize the protein and grow. But many companies do not use a cold press process to manufacture their whey protein. And this amounts to a waste of money for you. These are things that you have to know and you have to educate yourself when you are a natural bodybuilder. Because let's face it, you're relying on what you have available, and are legally available. So if you go out and, the protein supplements you buy has to be good quality. So any questions here, please put them in the chat box. Undenatured, if you're going to go buy, so this, what I'm about to say is not meant as an endorsement. It's not meant, I'm not telling you to go out and go buy, whey protein, but this is meant for educational purposes only, so that you can have the proper information and you can make your own choice. When it comes to protein supplements, undenatured whey, undenatured protein, cold processed protein is the best because it equates to less process. It equates to more, to the protein inside to being in a natural state. And that is what matters, and that is the way the body naturally accepts milk protein, whey protein specifically. When it comes to vitamins, you have to know the type of vitamins your body can absorb. Like I mentioned, the vitamin A from beta carotene sources, it's not accepted by many people's body. Many people cannot absorb and assimilate beta carotene. So it's important to know the source of the nutrients that you're buying. Overtaking too many B vitamins, your body could just flush them out. So the sources of B vitamins and also the time release vitamins. These are all factors which will influence your body's nutrient intake. And you need a good daily nutrient intake if you want to gain muscle naturally. Very important. We're talking about natural, whole food derived vitamins and minerals, as opposed to synthetic vitamins and minerals, which are poorly utilized by your body, poorly absorbed by your body. So any questions out here, I could just go on about specific vitamins and minerals and how well they are absorbed by the body. Let's take, for example, calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate equates to chalk. It's very similar to the consistency, to the composition of chalk. And it's poorly metabolized, it's poorly absorbed by the body. Calcium carbonate is poorly absorbed by the body. Many commercial supplements of calcium are calcium carbonate. Now, if you see calcium citrate, that's a much better absorbed source of calcium. So it's important to inform yourself on these sources of your vitamins, minerals, protein when you go buy a nutrient supplement. Let's take vitamin E. Vitamin E, tocopherols. Vitamin E, tocopherols is a good complete source of vitamin E. But if you don't see vitamin E with an I and toco, T-O-C-O, ferrols, you don't not have a good source of vitamin E. It's important to know your sources of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients supplements before you purchase them in a store. Any questions out here? So I learned how to look, where to look, and where to find proper information on, vitamin, protein supplements, and it was through something, for example, called the Nutrition Almanac. The Nutrition Almanac is updated every year. A new Nutrition Almanac is released in publication every year. So I used to buy that and read about not only the proper amounts of nutrients, but their sources, where they should come from, how they should be manufactured. So, the Nutrition Almanac wonderfully used to be found in many neighborhood supplement stores, nutrition supplement stores, but they stopped. A nice computer to research the vitamins and minerals supplements used to be available in most local nutrition stores, but now it's no longer, because now the nutrition stores emphasize just selling to increase the sales and not to educate the public on the selection of how they should select. They just want people to buy, whether they selecting a supplement that's right for them or not. So please let me know any questions you have to build natural muscle. So without the questions, I can't give specific information, because specific information is for is individualized. Each person out here is different, and they may need different information. So please ask me a question so that I can answer and provide any information that you may need or wonder about, and any specific area that you would like to learn. Well, anyway, so I see another viewer. So here we're talking about how to gain natural muscle. You have to have the proper nutrient intake. You have to experiment with your nutrient intake on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly level to see how your body responds to that nutrient intake. It may be too much, too many nutrients, it may be too little. You will only know by experimenting with different amounts. Of course, you always start with the recommended amounts of your vitamins, minerals, protein, carbs, so forth. But it also depends on your body weight and how much lean body weight specifically you have. Now, as you get older, the amount of muscle changes. Your amount of muscle. You lose approximately 4% of your muscle every decade of life after you're 30. 4%. It may not seem like a lot, but then over several decades, then you can have as much as 20% less muscle, which carries over to 20% less function, 20% less protection to your bones. It'll influence less muscle. 20% less muscle affects your posture, affects your ability to move. Having natural muscle throughout your lifetime is very important. It's one of the most important things. Don't allow anyone to tell you otherwise. How do you gain natural muscle? Resistance training, whether it's through bands, through calisthenics, through weights. So you apply exercise doses like you would apply the dose of any medicine. The dose has to be right for your own body. If your neighbor's doing 100 push-ups, does not mean that you should do 100 push-ups too. May not be right for you. Maybe you could do 20. You progressively work and you would allow your body to adapt to that 100 push-ups. So anyway, it was great joining you. Hopefully I will join you soon later. Have a great day.